Hey everybody, this is Franco, and today's video is about the new electrical enclosure I'm putting together for my Shoreline Industrial CNC chucker. You may have noticed in some previous videos that I had all the electronics kind of just fastened to a piece of plywood that I had hanging up here on my workbench. It was really a mess, and I never intended for it to stay like that, but you know how temporary things go. Sometimes they stick around a little longer than you want. But anyway, recently I decided I better go ahead and build a new enclosure. So what we have here is kind of like, very similar Acorn CNC setup that you might have seen in a lot of other Centroid Acorn CNC installations. One thing that's different is the enclosure that I put it in. So normally what I do, I like to buy these, I guess it's like a polycarbonate industrial enclosure. Those things are about, this size that I use, they're about $140, $150. They work great, I love them. But the size of that wasn't exactly what I wanted for this lathe. I wanted to, build something that I could just kind of fasten to the piece of plywood that I use to mount the lathe. Kind of wanted it to be a little shallower and wider. So I was thinking, like, what can I make this thing out of? And one day when I was at Home Depot, I noticed this stuff, cellular PVC trim. So I priced it out. It's not terribly expensive. You can get it, in all kinds of standard sizes, just like any other dimensional lumber. You can get sheets of it, right? So you can buy it in like 2 foot by 4 foot sections, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. I think you can even get 1 inch. So that stuff seemed like it would do a pretty good job at making an enclosure. It's kind of works like plywood. You can cut it and drill it and saw it and do everything like you would plywood, but it has a little cleaner look to it. I don't really like building electrical enclosures out of plywood. I know a lot of people do, but it's not for me. Had my friend Bazaru, who is now the proud owner of an awesome Workbee CNC router. Had him cut some pockets out for me and make all that stuff up really nice. So yeah, PVC sheeting, building the enclosure. After I put the thing together, I started thinking, like, wow, how flammable is this stuff? Is this thing going to go up like a torch if a spark or something kicks out on it? So I did a little reading up on it, and well, it will burn, just like any other, most materials will burn, actually. But because it's a building material, it's got to, meet some requirements as far as its, propensity to burn. And what I found is it's actually not nearly as flammable as you might think. I had a leftover piece of it that I just held over an open flame, and this stuff, when you put it to a flame, it burns. But it's more of a melting type of situation than it is a burning type of thing. When you take the flame away, it doesn't continue to burn. So it's definitely no worse than plywood. I actually think it might be safer than plywood. Not as good as steel or a metal enclosure. But I would say, in my opinion, I don't believe it's a whole lot worse than these other polycarbonate enclosures that I've been using. I'm sure they would burn too if I held a flame up to them. So yeah, I feel pretty good about the PVC enclosure, and hopefully if I put a little bit more time into this thing, I will have my chucker lathe all wired up. My hope is to have full spindle control on this thing. I want to integrate this Shoreline DC motor controller, fully integrated with the Acorn. I have this KBSI 240D board that I'm using to output the voltage to control the spindle RPM, but I also want to use the bank of relays that comes with this Acorn board somehow to wire this thing up so I can change spindle direction from the CNC program. So I think when I do that, I'll be able to tap and all kinds of cool stuff. All right, well, this video is long enough, so there you go. New electrical enclosure for the Shoreline CNC chucker made out of PVC sheeting.